Good Monday morning! I'm taking some questions and answers today from the Fun forum. OC Mitchell. OC Mitchell. Hi OC. What are your thoughts on remote working? Can you still have a cohesive, engaged team that never meets face to face? Any tips or tricks to making it work for you? If I ever built a software development company from scratch, I would not do it remote. Because there is an enormous amount of communication that gets lost in the communication tools that we have today. Even when you have fancy things like Google Hangout, which works pretty well, it's still very, very far from the enormous amount of bandwidth of communication that you have when you are an on-site team. In theater school, we were hammered with a bit of research that about 80% of human communication, like all the data that we get while interacting with other people, is through body language. So there's only a very small bit that comes from the actual words, and like a ton of information, very important information, comes from tonality of voice and the way you move and look. An example would be a person that, let's say you're on the phone with a person, and that person seems cheery and they seem engaged and everything. But if you had been in the room, you would have noticed that the person does not look you in the eye. They turn their body around. You could kind of pick up that they were not on board with you. They just didn't like you, or perhaps they were having a bad day, they were slumping or whatever. There's a lot of that kind of stuff that you pick up while you're looking at someone. I mean, that kind of works in a Hangout, but the problem with a Hangout is that the camera is often like either it's pointing at one person and other people are out of view, or it's pointing at the entire room and you don't get a lot of detail. You cannot pick up on little subtle things that you intuitively do as a human. And text communication, that's just bullshit, because you can use it to convey very simple things, or you can also use it to do pretty complex things if you are very good at written communication and you're also communicating with another person that is also good at written communication, and you are very familiar with how that person works. Then text communication kind of works, but otherwise it's just horrible. I mean, a person can write something and you have no idea what the tonality or context or anything is behind that sentence. If somebody says a random sentence over phone, you can kind of pick up on at least their tonality of voice, or how much they stutter when they say it, and like there's tons of little things. But when you have a piece of text, you can't read anything out of that. We have emojis, but they are very, very far from having actual access to tonality of voice. In addition, you have things like just sitting around in the office, like picking up at somebody is asking somebody about something, and you just overhear it and you are able to offer a solution. Or even if you're not able to offer a solution, at least you kind of get the vibe, the pace, an idea about what is happening in the office. You can also see how many people are in the office. For instance, that if you see that a lot of people aren't working, they aren't very productive, or there seems to be like a weird vibe going on here today, like how are people feeling? You can judge that. And there's also the matter of that humans need to eat, so you go to lunch and often eat together, because we are sociable people and we like company, even introverts. And that is like often an hour of communication with your colleagues that is completely lost when you're doing remote work, which is just like an insane loss. So I'm not saying that remote work cannot work. There are definitely companies doing it. So like 37 Signals seems to be doing fine. And I also know that Look Back uses remote work for like to a great extent, has written a lot of interesting articles on how they pull that off. But it's very important to notice that those companies, they do only remote work. They are focused on remote work. Their offices are like these barren things that people never go to. Like they hire people exclusively that are good for remote working. They are excellent written communicators. They are all probably most of them are introverts, because I'm an extrovert, so I can't function in a remote working environment. I break down. I become insane. I need to meet people every day, constantly. And silence. But I think it can work if you just exclusively hire the right kind of people, and you create a process specifically around that. What absolutely does not work is to have a mixed set, like have an on-site team where people, like some people are remote workers. That just works really, really badly. I've never seen it work even closely, even if the person is very used to remote work. The team just doesn't evolve processes. The most basic example I can think of is that the on-site teams needs to constantly remember to call into the remote hangout, so that people that are offsite might join the hangout if they can. And just having that routine of doing it, and also that the remote worker has an easy way of doing it. For example, like that there's always a hangout link in the meeting, so that you don't have to remember which hangout link goes to which meeting. That kind of stuff. It becomes weird because the on-site team will have informal meetings. Like let's say that you have this discussion, you need to talk about this. And it becomes a very low barrier for them to just go talk. But if you don't have a team that is trained in just remoting, they will probably exclude the offsite people more than they should. They would just go and have their meeting by the whiteboard, because whiteboards are awesome, and figure things out. But if, say, 37 Signals or Look Back had their meeting, they would probably all call into Hangouts, and they would, instead of opening a whiteboard, they would open a Google Doc, and they would do that discussion, because they have a collective limitation. But for the on-site team, using a whiteboard and using this direct communication with a colleague will make them so much more efficient that it will make it feel for them like walking in mud by bringing in another person. It will work badly. You have just watched an episode of Fun Function. I release these every Monday morning, 0800 GMT. If you are a patron of the show, you can discuss this specific question on the Fun forum by clicking here, or you can just watch another episode of the show by clicking here. I am MPJ. Until next Monday morning, stay curious.